Hey everyone, just wanted to make a quick video showing you how you can use ArcGIS Online and ArcGIS Hub to put up your own coronavirus response hub site. So in this time of the coronavirus outbreak, we've seen a lot of governments and organizations putting up their own website to give out authoritative information and resources regarding the outbreak and the response in your local area. Some examples we've seen for this is the Maryland Department of Health. They've put up a site that has some embedded dashboards showing the outbreak within the state. Cities such as the city of Fairfield in Ohio have also put up their own with similar apps and maps that show the outbreak within the state, as well as give access to resources as we continue to scroll down and some basic information on what you can do to prepare. Counties are also another frequent user of these hub sites, giving stats for their local area as well as links out to other applications. And even other organizations such as the Loma Linda University Health System have taken to creating their own website to let people know within their area of practice the current status of their medical system and their region overall. And all of the sites that I've just shown you are built using ArcGIS Hub. This template that I'm showing you now is the base template that you'll be able to deploy if you would like to create your own website using a template with ArcGIS Hub. Of course, you can also create your own website from scratch and modify the template. It's a very easy to modify drag and drop builder system, but this is a great place to start. Let me walk you through this coronavirus response hub template first. So you'll see we have an intro section with a header, some text that goes over the general summary, as well as some data indicators that are linked up to the Johns Hopkins University data set that gives an overall count of confirmed cases and deaths at the county level and at the country level throughout the world. You'll notice that recovered is not in here. That data set does not provide recovered because there is no authoritative or trusted source of recovered data as of right now, but look for things to develop as the data sets continue to get built out into the future. As I continue to go down, you'll see there's an area here for some local resources. This is a gallery connected to an ArcGIS Online group that can show some of the resources you have available. And then under here is some text that comes from the CDC's website related to symptoms, what you can do to prevent illness, the steps you can take, as well as the illustrations that the CDC had for that. A timeline for what to do if you're sick, an area for maybe a link to some local healthcare resources or some more local apps or stories, and some more areas for tweets, local closure information, updates from executives, and additional resources from the CDC and your local health department. Additionally, if you want to go even further, you can make available open data sets through these data categories, as well as applications and documents that you have, or display some of the national and global resources here within this gallery. These might be some of the top trending dashboards and mapping applications that are out there tracking this coronavirus epidemic worldwide. And then finally, this template ends with a FAQ section that you can edit for some frequently asked questions that you might be encountering. Now, this is one page of the template. There's also the ability to add additional pages if you want to break this out or create your own content onto other pages. But I want to walk through setting up this template. The first thing you should be aware of is the coronavirus response is continually shifting as new resources are being created. Esri is updating our COVID-19 GIS hub, our coronavirus hub for all of Esri's best practices and resources related to the response to the coronavirus epidemic. You can see the WHO dashboard is embedded right here at the top. And if you scroll down here, you have a couple options for how to get started, how to get data, or get updates. This resources button here is a great place to look at some resources for starting your own apps and your own website. And what I'm going to walk you through here, you can also walk through on this link here, learn to launch your own coronavirus response hub. So if you open that up, you'll get this blog made by Katie Thompson here at Esri, and this also walks you through step-by-step how to deploy this website. So be sure to refer to this blog as well to help you as you're setting up your own coronavirus response websites. So let's dive in. For those of you who have ArcGIS Online, and that will be a requirement on this, is to have a subscription to ArcGIS Online. You'll notice this is the familiar content page that you could get to maybe if you're on your home page. Click on the content tab. You can see all your content in through here, and I'll take you up to the top right-hand corner. I can click down on this app launcher here, and I'll get a selection of apps that are part of the ArcGIS Online ecosystem. And you'll see this one here, this purple one with a circle icon, says Hub. So I'm going to click through on that. And the Hub is the application where you're going to be able to create these sites and publish these sites out to the public. You'll most likely get a screen like this if you have purchased Hub Premium, which is a premium version that has the ability to give community members logins and create events and create your own initiative templates. You might see something like this, but the steps are going to be the same, so I'll continue through this. So we want to create a coronavirus response site from the template that I just showed you. I'm going to go in here, and on this sites block, or if you have Hub Premium, this will say initiatives. You're going to want to hit new, and it's going to ask you to give your site a name, and then if you hit create site here, that's going to put you into a blank template for this, just a standard generic template for creating a Hub site. If you want to use that coronavirus response template that I showed before, you're going to hit Browse Templates, and you'll be directed to a templates gallery, and you'll see for all ArcGIS Hub Basic users, you have 3 templates here that are available. For those who have Hub Premium, you'll have a selection of other templates that are going to be available here as well, but you'll see that coronavirus response is the first template here. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Activate Initiative on that template. Let's call this one... We'll do this for the city of Rochester. So we'll do Rochester coronavirus response, and I'll put test in here as well. So you'll see that there's a loading bar going at the bottom of the screen. What this is doing is creating groups in the backend in your ArcGIS Online organization that you can then add content to from your organization or from other publicly available apps and data sets. And those groups will be searchable and embeddable within your website. So it's a great way to start to collaborate between different organizations if you have different data sets across the region that you'd want to use in a unified coronavirus response effort. So now that I've launched this, you'll see I'm opening up into the site editor. This is the main editing page for your entire template for your site. You have a few options here. I'm actually going to toggle this side panel back using this half moon button here on the side, just to show you that this is the same template that we ran through before, but now it's within your own site, and you can see there are now editing boxes that are appearing around each of these blocks within the site, which shows you places that you can then edit that site and make it your own for your own area. For instance, if I come in here to this top part, and let's say I want to make this not as generic and make it for the city of Rochester specifically, I can delete the word template here, and I can add in City of Rochester Coronavirus Response Hub. You could also change the date in here to reflect the day today, so I'll do the 26th. And if I hit that gear icon again, now I'm going to come up here and hit save. A very important thing to remember when you're making any changes on the site. Whenever this top bar of the save button is yellow, that means you've made changes without saving. So I'm going to save that. And now if I click out with this view button here, I should have a... Let me click this view button. It'll direct me out to the site as it is live, and you'll see I now have the city of Rochester in here, so that's how we can quickly start to make adjustments to make this your own page. I'm going to go back and hit this pencil tool on the left, and that's actually going to direct me back into the editing mode so that I can come back to editing this. So as we scroll through here, you'll see there's a few things. There's this gallery here, which doesn't have any apps associated with it right now. A lot of this stuff can generally stay the same for a lot of your deployments at first. The key to a lot of these websites is to gradually make changes and grow the content on the website as you have it, especially in these fast-paced moving situations. You're going to want to use the information you have now and then upgrade that information as you have the base settled on this site itself. So let's say you wanted to add in, for instance, a dashboard. Esri actually has just released a selection of solutions for the coronavirus response that you can use to deploy. I'll link out some links to that, the solutions themselves, as well as a great video that was created in standing up those solutions. So those might be some things that you would want to do in tandem with creating this site or beforehand. But for now, I'm actually going to use a dashboard from another local area. This is Erie County, New York. They've made a pretty great dashboard showing the cases within their area. So I'm going to copy the link to that, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to add in new blocks into this. So if I come over here to this panel, this editing panel, you'll see there's a few options here. If I go down to layout here, I can actually click layout, and this is going to give me all the blocks that I can drag onto this site editor. So how this site editor works is it's rows, and each row has blocks of one of these types within them, and that's the entirety of the site. So say I wanted to add in a new row under these indicators here, I would just drag this row item in between right to there, and now I have an empty row. And in this empty row, let's say I want to add that dashboard application. So I can come in here, I can use a couple blocks for this, the application one, and I can pull directly from my content. I'm actually just going to use the iframe one for now. I'm going to drag that over and place that in here. And you'll see all I need to do is get that URL from that other dashboard that I have, which I copied. I'm going to paste that URL, and I'm going to hit apply. It's going to load in that dashboard, and now I have a dashboard embedded within my website. I'm going to hit save. So this, you can see, you can start to grow the content that's on your website organically as it's created during your response. I'm actually going to set the iframe of that to be a little larger. Let's say it's 600. That means it's going to be a taller height for that dashboard overall. And I'm also you also have the option to come over here into the gear. This gear controls all the content on the side, on the row. So let's say you wanted to make this wide and make this dashboard go across the whole screen. In the row settings, you could hit wide, and now your dashboard is going to extend across the whole screen. Additionally, you could also change the default text color for all the text within that row, as well as the background color here. Let's say you wanted to make it your own colors for your city or your organization. I'll keep this at white for now. You also have, with every block, this settings that I showed you when I put in the URL for this iframe. Each block has their own settings. So if I come up here to this summary statistic card here and I click that little gear icon, that's going to show me the settings for this summary statistic card, which are going to include what data set it's connected to. You could hit this change button and then connect this to a data set within your own organization. Let's say maybe your local county health department has put out their own data set and made it public. You could change and reroute this data set to that one, as well as change what it's counting, as in you could maybe sum the cases that are happening, or maybe you want to take an average of the ages that are happening by cases and put that on there as well. There's a lot of different variables that you could use with this summary statistics card. So these are just a few options for how you start to visualize that data. One thing you would want to keep in mind is this dashboard has a lot of text on it, a lot of content, so it might not be as mobile friendly as you would want it to be. There are some ways that you can work to get your dashboards more mobile friendly. You could design them as individual cards and place a few dashboards on the page. So you'll see if I save and then I view this page, the reason this row and then block format is so nice is because it's actually able to start to condense into a mobile view. So let's say you're on a cell phone looking at data or information on coronavirus, which most users of government websites are going to be looking at these from mobile devices. All of these have automatically gone into a mobile-friendly format because of that row and block layout that they have there. So you see all of these are easily viewable on a phone. And I'll scroll back up to that dashboard to show you what we want to try to avoid. So this one's still pretty readable, although you see the text has gotten pretty small here. This might be a situation where you'd want to design maybe a few dashboards and break this up so that when you close it into a mobile view, you see a couple dashboards stacked on top of each other. Or you could also potentially use Experience Builder to set a dashboard for a desktop view, like on a computer, and set a dashboard for a mobile view as well, and maybe make a more trimmed down dashboard that's just a map and maybe just a few indicators so it fits more nicely within that screen. I'm going to scroll back out here and start taking you through the rest of these editing options. So I won't run through all the cards in the layout section here, but just know that some of the most frequent ones that you'll be using are the text card. This one's already in use a lot in this template. You could hit the gear icon on here and you'll be brought into a text editor, which you'll be able to change the text. Like, let's say I want to specify in the Rochester area here. I'll type that in there. And this is how you can just start to make these a little more custom and maybe use some language that your local health departments or local executives have started to use around the coronavirus response. As I scroll through, you'll see a lot of different text cards that you can start to edit. If for some reason you want to come in and do a little more editing, maybe you have someone who has more experience with web design, and you go into these text cards, there actually is an option here to go into a code view. This is where you can start to edit a little bit more in depth if you have someone who wants to, say, change the colors of the header texts and make a lot of different custom specific changes. But generally, you should be able to create a website without using a lot of that custom code that you would need for a lot of websites. This is more of a drag and drop builder, especially when you're trying to get these websites out fast. This gallery card, another card that's in use on the site by default, it's going to be looking for groups that are selected. So by default, those groups that were created with the site are chosen. And if you put items into those groups in ArcGIS Online, then you're going to be able to see those items within these galleries here. And I can say how many cards I want to show, up to 16 items. Additionally, you can also manually just select the content that you're going to want for this. And this includes content from the world. So maybe you wanted to do a coronavirus dashboard. Let's see if the Erie one shows up here. We'll just look for coronavirus and we'll hit data. You see you can find some data here. Let's just look for our coronavirus map. We'll grab one of these ones here. It might be for a different area, but just to show you, I'm going to select that, and now that item is going to be one of the cards in here. I can continue to select content and fill out those 4 cards as I had measured, or I can use the dynamic option and select a group that has some coronavirus-related information. So let's collect this one here, and it will populate out that group with the content. Oh, it seems like that was an empty group. Let's try another one. We'll grab some of these groups just as a test one. You'll see it'll fill out with the information related to the coronavirus within that group. So you can connect that to one of your local groups and keep that updated with the top apps that you have available. Otherwise than that, a lot of this is mostly text-based and gallery cards. There's also a couple ones like this tweets one. If you embed in your own Twitter in here, you'll be able to show live tweets from your organization or your local regional health department. You also have the ability to come in here and you can either get rid of these cards or edit them based on what other types of sections you're going to need for your local area. But you can actually come in here and change this button to link out to maybe a local closure website that you have. And how you do that is actually going into that code view, and you'll see it says href hashtag. That hashtag is where you would put in, let's just use Google for an example, Google website here. And now I won't be able to click on that in the edit mode because I'm currently viewing the website. All the links are disabled. But if I come out into that view mode, I'll be able to click on that and it'll send me out to that website that I had just sent it to. So a couple more customizations if you're looking to get a little more in-depth. You also have the ability to just put text cards and create lists like this of different resources, or use your local health department's resources and list those out here as well. And additionally, you could even create your own sections on here by just dragging an image card and a text card, and you could come in here and copy all of this data and then paste it into another card so you can create duplicates of this section here. Let's say you wanted to create a logo, put a logo in here. I'm actually going to take the City of Rochester logo, for example. I'm just going to copy the image address and go into the settings on this image card. You'll see it has this default template image. I'm going to just drop in that logo here, and now we have the local health department or the local city and regional logos that you can add in there as well. So that's how that image card works. You also have the ability to load in an image from your computer as well if you don't have it hosted somewhere, but just an easy way to start to throw images onto this page. If you wanted to link your data and apps up, hitting the settings on this what you're going to have to do is it's going to be querying your search on your site by a certain tag, by a category keyword that you've set up. So let's say for this COVID-19 outbreak, maybe you just want to use the word COVID. And as you put items into your ArcGIS Online, you want to tag those with the tags that you'd want to be able to search on, so that, let's say I save this, and I'll save the page, and I'll come out and view it again. I'll hit view here. Let's scroll all the way up. You'll see the search function is all the way up here at the top. Actually, I didn't have to scroll up because it's always there at the top of the page. That allows you to search all the information that has been linked into this site. But I could also scroll down to that COVID-19 category that I just put, and I'm going to click that. I don't believe I have any information since this is a brand new site. There probably isn't any items associated with that. We'll actually go through and add a group in a little bit here, but this is our default content editor, and it's actually only searching for the tag COVID right now. So that's a way to start to limit in your search based on certain tags. Some common ones for coronavirus would be demographics, vulnerable populations, movement data, hospitals and healthcare data. So those are all sorts of categories that you could put. And these data sections are great for independent researchers, such as academic institutions or nonprofits in the area, and regional associations and governments that would want to use and collaborate on your data. We'll run through connecting data in a little bit, but I'll just continue to run through the rest of this site here. As we continue down to the bottom, we see that we have this national and global resources. This is actually hooked up to Esri's coronavirus apps group, and it's sorted by most views. So you're seeing some of the most popular national and global resources. That's a pretty good place to stick with for now. But you could also search through that group that it's attached to and find some of your own examples and maybe make a custom gallery of apps here if you'd want. And then finally, we have our FAQ section. So this has some FAQs from the CDC already pre-deployed with the template, but you could additionally come in and create your own. You could copy a certain section and then paste it and start to create your own. You might even want to do that from the code mode, so you see that you can grab all of the sections on this and duplicate them as you go through. But this is also good as it is with a default FAQ section from the CDC as you first deploy your site. Then you finally have your footer here at the bottom, and the header and the footer are edited in a different way than the rest of the website, because if you create new pages on this, the header and the footer are automatically copied to each of the new pages. So I'll show you some of those master settings that will copy through to any new pages. If I open up this side panel here again with that half moon icon, you'll see we've hit the layout section, which has all of those different types of apps you can use. You can embed videos, you can embed galleries, iframes, and applications to put your own applications in the site. We also have these other options, so I'll start right here at settings. If I just want to run through these really quickly, you have the ability to edit the name of your site. That's the name that you see right here. Right now it's Rochester Coronavirus Response Test. Maybe I want to just change that to site for now. I'm going to add that in there, and then I'll save that. You can also change the summary, and this is what appears in the search results when this is searched by search engines like Google. So you're going to want to change that to reflect your local organization. So I'll say in Rochester here. You can also add a custom favicon, which is this little image that shows up here in the browser. So you can change that to be your own. Under this domain tab, you can change the domain, which is to say the URL of the website. You can even add your own custom domain. You'll need someone who has permission within your organization, like in the IT department, to create a custom domain, but you can create it by clicking on here. And it'll ask for a CNAME that it's going to try and validate through there. You can additionally also add in your Google Analytics. This might be something that your IT or marketing departments has access to, so you can track the usage of your website over time. You're always going to want to enforce HTTPS. And after this, there's a few more settings to get a little more in the weeds, although I don't think you'll need to change any of this on your first deployment of this template. I'll come down here to header. So like I mentioned, the header here is the default header from the template, and it's going to copy to all the pages that you make from here on in. So if I click header, you'll see it's already on standard. I could also make it prominent if I'd want to. I could also make it wide, just like the row cards, but I'll keep it at box for now. I'm going to go into the branding, and I'll change this to Rochester Coronavirus Response. So I'm starting to make it a little more customized for your own website. I'll put the short name in, which is the name that people will see on cell phone screens when it's a smaller screen. I'll say Rock COVID Hub here. That should fit the 15 character limit. I'll add a new logo in here. I'll actually add that same flower logo. So you see it's automatically reflected right there with the URL. It's always important to also add alt text to all your images. So I'm going to call this the Rochester logo. Alt text. This is very important for accessibility. Always keep accessibility in mind for people who are using screen readers, for instance. Also important to keep accessibility in mind for those who might be colorblind. I actually have an add-in here called Colorblindly that allows me to see the website in different colorblind modes, but there's also some default tools within Google Chrome that allow you for this as well. So there's a couple tools out there and a couple ways that you can start to check for accessibility, which is very important as you're creating these sites. In the header section, as I go through, so we've set our branding. We now have our menu. You'll notice right now in the menu, there's only one link, and it's how to use this template. How to use this template is actually a page that is deployed right away with this. But I want to remove that, and maybe I want to make it go to a city homepage, for instance. So I'm just going to get the City of Rochester homepage here. I'm going to grab that URL. I'll come back here. I'm going to remove this existing link here, and I'll add a link. You can either do it to an existing content, which is to say one of your sub pages or another page from another hub site that you've stood up, or an external page. I'll put in the link destination here, and I'll say city home, and I'll save that there, and you'll see now I have another link up here. So this is a great place to link to sub pages if you want to break this page out down the road, or to other resources like your county or your local public health agency pages. You can also add in your social media icons and link to those as well for Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram through here. So that's your overall header customization. You also have the ability to do custom headers as well, but for the sake of time, I'm going to stick to this standard header as it is now. For the footer, I'll scroll down to the footer so you can see that we have this default footer in place, and this one, to edit this, will actually require more HTML. If you are just having one page and you don't have HTML or CSS experience on hand, you can just hit none and create a new row and put a footer in. The only thing is that that wouldn't copy from page to page. So if you do want a footer that goes from page to page, the HTML is fairly straightforward, so you'll see you have just default text in here. If I click on this HTML, it's going to open it up, and for those of you unfamiliar with HTML, you might be able to suss out the layout of this. So you'll see down here, you can see there's a contact@mygov.gov default website. I also can see that in the text here. So what I would have to do is I would have to change this href link to mail to, and then the email that you'd want to mail to for maybe feedback or questions about the coronavirus response. So this is some place that someone with HTML and CSS experience could easily configure to match your own website. But you also might want to start with none at first and create a row in there if you don't have experience on hand right now. I'm going to drop back from there. One other thing that carries over from site to site is the theme. So the theme is the default colors that you see. So if I come up here all the way to the top, you see that this global nav bar at the top here has this background color of blue, but maybe my color is a little bit different than this blue. I know Rochester's logo has a sort of different blue, so I'm actually going to pick the color that I see there. So we'll grab that color. And this is actually another plugin that I have called Colorzilla that picks colors, makes it a little easier for me, but the colors themselves are just these hex codes. So I'm going to paste that hex code that I just copied in there, and you'll see I've just changed that top bar to that color blue. Maybe I also want to change this to that color blue as well. For rows, I can come into the settings over here and change the colors through the background color here, also using that hex code. So those hex codes are very important if you want to start making things standardized to your own colors. Additionally, you could keep it as its default colors for now and make these changes later once you've gotten the site up and gotten some of your branding standards so that you can start to fill in these colors within this theme. But I'm going to jump back to theme really quickly, show you. You can change the colors for the background and the text color for the headers, as well as the default one for the body. When we talk about headers, that's the big text is headers, versus like the paragraph text is going to be body. So you'll see that in here a couple times. You can change the link colors on the page. And finally here at the bottom, you can change the actual fonts themselves. So if I come in here, you have the ability to go to Google Fonts and grab the URLs for certain fonts if you want to make these inline or in standard with your own city's fonts on your current government website. So there's a way to do that as well if they're through Google Fonts. Just a few theme customizations you can make. Other than that, now I have a dashboard on this website. I've configured some of this information for my own organization or my own government. You could start by starting to make this visible right away. So what you can do is right now this has been shared within a group. Maybe you want to share it within the organization. You can go over here to this drop down and click organization and share the link and start to get some feedback from your internal organization. And then when you're ready, you can hit public, and this will make the content, this page, public so that you can give this link out to anyone, and then they could start to visit this site and share it on social media. One thing to keep in mind is you want to make sure that all of the dashboards and content you embed is also set at a sharing level that's public. Otherwise, people who don't have access to that won't be able to see it without logging in. So that's another way you could gate content. So maybe you have some content that's internal and some content that's external. Maybe you have a page that's internal, or and the rest of the site is external. So your internal organizational viewers have their own space, or you maybe want to make a separate site completely for internal users. A couple of ways you could do that, but you could start to make this public right away, get a site stood up. I'll hit view here so we can see that. And now we have a coronavirus response hub that's been set up very quickly. And you can continue to build this out with resources as your response efforts start to grow. A couple more things I'd want to show you before we go is if you are wondering where you're going to get data, some common places to look would be your county or local health departments to see what kind of data they're collecting. But Johns Hopkins University has also provided data in a map layer at the county level for the United States and for the world, for countries across the world too. So we have that county level data in the US from Johns Hopkins that's available here. There are some important notes for that. Active cases and recovered cases are set to 0 currently in there because there is no reliable source for that information currently. But continue to check in on that. That might change in the future as people get their heads around data sharing and what needs to happen to get that kind of information out. And also, if you want to check what other people are doing for this, you should definitely be navigating to Esri's coronavirus response site here, the COVID-19 GIS hub. This is going to be constantly being updated with these resources. You definitely want to check this resources to get started section to see what kind of new things are popping up. You also can go to hub.arcgis.com, and there's a new tab here, COVID-19 featured sites. This is going to show you some of the featured sites that our hub product team has found that show some good examples of what people have done to take this and edit it. So a lot of great things coming out of there. We have those solution templates from our ArcGIS solutions for local government team that could be easily stood up, as well as template infographic on demographics that are for vulnerable populations that our business analyst team has put out. So a lot of different resources that I'll try and link in this video, but that's a quick view at setting up your own website. One last thing I mentioned is the option of creating your own page. So I'm going to go back into edit mode here just so you can see what that would mean. You'll see up here in the customize section, there's also a number, there's a 1 and a little page symbol. This is your page section. So as of right now, there is one page linked into this template, and it's actually a how to use this template page. So this gives you some more details on what you should be looking for to include. This is a great starting place if you want to review this and that blog post that I showed earlier on how to get this site stood up. But you also have the ability, if I want to hit back here, you also have the ability to create your own new page. So For instance, you might want to break out your case information into its own page, or maybe you want to make an open data page that has resources for regional governments. You can actually hit new page here, and let's say local government resources here. Maybe all the towns in the Rochester area want to collaborate and get some data sets. I can hit next here. It's going to save a page, and it's actually going to create a new page automatically here. You'll see it starts with a default template. So you can come in here, and I can delete some of these basic cards and then start to drag in cards and create my own new pages. Maybe you want a news or an updates page, or another page to explain some guidance around what people should be doing during the outbreak. So you can start to create your own pages, and then once you're done with these, you can make these ones public as well and share these out to the world. So a great way to start to expand on this site as you create new content. Finally, if I hit this Rochester Coronavirus Response Site tab, this is another menu for the site that shows you a few different options you have. I'm going to scroll down here to Groups Manager. You might have some existing groups already that you would want to connect into your site, into that search capability in the site. So let's come in here and we'll actually hit, we'll do COVID apps. And I'll collect open data and I'll uncheck my organization. So, I spelled COVID wrong there. So you'll see I can search groups from my organization that might be related to COVID, but also if I uncheck my organization, I can search open data groups from all organizations that have made public groups through Hub. So let's say there's a national group that might have been created. So let's choose this Manatee County one, for example, here. So let's say I want to include this external organization's open data group as well as my own organization's one. I can select this group here, and I can hit add, and that's actually going to add it to the search functionality. Now, when I search on this site, I'm also going to be able to search all the content that's linked into this other county group too. So this is a great way for different regional area governments and organizations to start to collaborate with all of their data. And you'll see in their group for Manatee County, they have linked the Johns Hopkins University coronavirus data set in there. So great way to start to collaborate and add their groups together. Also, you can add groups from your organization as well. So maybe I just want to add in an open data group I've started that might have boundary data or other things that are useful for coronavirus app creation. I can add those into the group, and then we'll continue to add resources into this and make this a real true hub for your coronavirus response. So those are some of the basic features for creating your coronavirus response site. I look forward to seeing what everyone is putting out for coronavirus response, and be sure to keep checking Esri's resources to see all of the newest apps and dashboards and guidance that we have as the response continues to the outbreak. Thank you guys so much for watching this.